Good morning. I have a bit of a cold, so I didn't make an effort to even brush my hair. I'm sorry. All right, so I wrote a novel in 25 days, or if it was 26, I'm not exactly sure, but 25 or 26 days, an entire novel. And I will tell you how I did this, because it's not like I have some sort of special writing skill that I can write a lot and just like that. No. Like many other writers, I struggled with writing. I always wanted to be a writer, and ever since I was a kid, and I've been writing a lot, really a lot of stories, but none of the stories was finished. This is my problem. I love to write, I start writing, and I write about 30 pages, and then I get totally sick of the story and totally sick of writing, and I quit, and I never touch it again. And it's been like this ever since I started writing. But things changed because I came up with a strategy that works for me. And I will tell you all about it, because I think it can be useful. If you had the same problem, you can try this and see if it helps. I cannot say this works for everyone. It's just, it worked for me. So I want to give you the tips, the idea. Maybe it will work for you too. So I couldn't write longer texts because patience was an issue. The thing that I did wrong, I realize that now, was that when I started to write, I did not know how the story would end. I knew the start, but I didn't know the middle or the ending. I made things up as I went. Some writers can do this, and it works perfectly for them. Just come up with things as they go. But it didn't work for me, because when I came to a point where I didn't know what to write, I didn't have the inspiration or the fantasy, and I just got stuck in some moment in the story. And if I didn't get out of that situation fast enough, I lost inspiration and lost the energy to write. I got sick of myself, I got sick of my story, and I didn't continue. So 30 pages about that. The reason why I finished this novel is because I knew how it would end. I knew the story. The story was done in my head before I started to write. So I didn't come up with anything as I went. Everything was finished. I made an outline, and that was that. From there, I could write the story. I didn't get stuck, like, oh, I don't know what this character is going to do next. I knew everything before I started writing. That was the first thing that I think was the reason why it became a finished novel. But that's not all, because even if you do have a story, it can sometimes be really hard to just sit down and write. I totally understand people who say this, like, I have this complete story, it's an awesome story, but it's like, it's just thinking about sitting down and writing it down, it's difficult. I know exactly. I've been there many times. So I came up with a thing that I will tell you about. Hopefully this will work. This is what I did. I made rules for myself, and very, very, strict rules. I didn't allow myself to fail, all right? So what I did was very simple, actually. I told myself that I must write 300 words every day. Absolute minimum 300 words. And listen, 300 words are not much, especially not for a person who likes to write. 300 words, anyone can do that. It takes like 10 minutes. 300 words every day. The thing that happens when you do something every day a little is that it becomes a habit. And the psychology of habits is strong. Now, listen, this is the same thing. I think you heard about people going to the gym, and if they skip one day at the gym, they get all nervous and, they don't feel good about themselves. They feel like they have to go to the gym in order to feel good, right? And that's no bullshit. That is not, pretending or, delusions. That is real, because something happens in your brain. In the beginning, when you go to the gym, it's really hard, difficult. You really don't want to do it, but you have to because you need to, be more healthy or whatever. Whatever reason, you force yourself first 2 weeks or 3. It's like you don't like it. But what happens in your brain when you do something that's good for you is that the brain gives you a little treat. And that treat is a cocktail of hormones. So when you do something, you get a little bam, hormone rush, makes you feel good. And eventually, pretty soon, it will become a habit because you want that. You crave that little kick that you get, the treat. And it's the same with writing. Write a little every day. You get this treat for doing something good. And again and again. And soon it will be a habit. It will be like the opposite. Instead of, getting annoyed and feeling stressed about, oh no, I have to write. It will feel like, if I don't write, I will die. So that is basically what I did to myself. I said that the rule is 300 words every day. And the rules were very, very strict. It means that if I write 600 words one day, that doesn't mean that I can skip the next day. The rule is 300 words every day, at least 300 words. So, because it only took like 10 minutes to do it, I felt every day that, it's easy to get this little treat, It's not difficult. 300 words, I can do that. Later it became 500, and then it became thousands. And when I finally started to write on the actual novel, I wrote, I think my record for one day is a little bit over 6,000 words. And I did this. One day, 5,000 words. One day, 3,000 words. Next day, 6,000. It's like different every day, but far above 300. For me, it was super effective. And what I did to, keep the spirit up was that I made a chart. So every day I wrote, like in a little square, how many words I wrote that day. So I could see every day how much I wrote, and I could see statistics for each week, how many words I wrote that week, like 20,000 words. It was like amazing when I hit 20,000 words. So that is really good because it became sort of a competition. You don't want to fail. You don't want one of these squares to be a 0, like you didn't write anything. You don't want that. You always want to keep up like an even flow. For me, it really, really helped to see this numbers, on paper. I had it on my computer. So when I was sitting there writing, I could actually see, and I could fill in this little chart, how many words I've written. And I was very proud of myself when I saw how this is growing, how many words I wrote. And it gave me this, satisfaction and this cocktail of hormones, positive, like boom, felt good. There was one day when I felt like I don't have the time to write. I need to go to bed. I have to go to work tomorrow. I don't have time to write tonight. So I went to bed and I felt really, really annoyed by this. Really annoyed, because that would mean I will have a 0 in my chart. I don't want that 0. So I could not tolerate this. I felt bad about myself not writing. So I went up in the middle of the night and I wrote my words. So I will not have that 0. So keeping a chart is really, really effective. That's what I did. That is how it's done. I started writing this novel the 17th of February this year. And now it is September. And here it is behind me. Printed novel. All right? This is no joke. This actually happened. It's real. And if I could do it, trust me on this. If I could do it, if I can do it, anyone can do it. Anyone. Because the problems I had with writing was like, it's not from this world. It was something, special. I could not write, even though I really loved writing and all of that. I just couldn't. 30 pages. Now I wrote almost 400 pages in less than a month. So listen, try this. If you have problems with writing, please try it. Might help. And maybe you will be a best-selling author. How awesome would that be? Just do it, please.